What's up, CakeDrain Nation? Welcome to another official CakeDrain review. Today is a super exciting review because it will mark the first time that we've reviewed, or in this case, I've reviewed a comic book volume. Now, as you guys have probably already guessed, it involves Deathstroke, one of my favorite comic book characters of all time. Now, Deathstroke made his debut in the New Teen Titans in 1980. But today I'm going to be reviewing Deathstroke the Terminator, Volume 1, Assassins. And Deathstroke the Terminator was his first run of comic books on his own. And it made its debut in 1991. The collected volume, came out recently, and this collects issues 1 through 9, including New Teen Titans number 70. So this is just a collection. It involves 2 different story arcs. The first one is called Full Cycle, and then the second is City of Assassins. And this comic book volume is really, really awesome. Even if you don't know a whole lot about the character, it goes into his origins pretty in depth. His origins are originally from the New Teen Titans, and they're explored in there. And so there's a lot of references made to the Teen Titans and stuff like that. But it's a really good introduction to the character if you've never heard of him before, or if you don't know a lot about him. Modern incarnations of the character depict him as kind of a villain. In this case, he's very much an anti-hero, aka action hero. So a lot of what's really cool about this is it plays out in some ways like a comic book superhero story, and in a lot of ways, especially the first story arc, Full Cycle, and also in a lot of ways like an 80s action movie. So it's got a lot of thrills from both different things. It's really interesting read. In terms of the story of the first story arc, Full Cycle, it's really cool. I mean, the best parts of it are the parts that go into the psychology and the past of Deathstroke himself. The story, at first the story seems kind of like a stereotypical action movie plot, but then you find out later that there's more to it than that, and a really cool villain is, there's a really cool villain for the first story arc. And the penciling is really great, the artwork is awesome. I love how the different panels are edited together, and it gives it a very cinematic quality. Now, the second story arc, City of Assassins, takes place in Gotham and involves Batman directly. And so that, of course, is really, really cool. This chronicles basically Deathstroke and Batman's first encounter in the comic book DC world. And it's awesome. Out of the 2 story arcs, City of Assassins is definitely my favorite. The writing in it was very, very witty, very awesome. The story is pretty simple, and it doesn't have quite the villain isn't quite as good, sorry if I could talk, as the villain in the first story arc, but everything else kind of makes up for that. The panel composition, I think, is a lot better. There's a particular page where you see the parallels between Batman and Deathstroke. Let's see if I can find it here. There it is. Just give you guys kind of a sneak peek at that particular page. I mean, you could pause it and take a look at that for yourself. It's really, really awesome, really worth it. I think I paid like $20 for this, and it's bigger than a lot of comic book volumes. Most comic book volumes collect about 6 issues. This one collects a total of 10, 9 Deathstroke the Terminator issues and 1 New Teen Titans issue tied into it. So with a total of 10 different comic book issues. Worth it. Like I said, very fun, very vibrant. It's classic. You know, I mean, this is from the early 90s and 80s. So the artwork is more, the paper is more newsprint type of paper rather than the super smooth, shiny, glossy pictures or pages that you're used to in modern comics. And so the retro feel is awesome, but it's still timeless. The great thing about this comic is that it doesn't feel dated. The only thing that feels, I would say, more retro about it is the fact that it, like I said, is part superhero comics, part action, 80s action movie. It's really great in that because those are two things that I love. So I would definitely, if you're a comic book fan and if you're a fan of Deathstroke, I would definitely look into this. It is really good, really fun read, and you'll just get to the end and be so excited. I'm going to read Volume 2 after this. Volume 3, actually, the collected Volume 3 for Deathstroke the Terminator, hasn't come out yet, but it does come out this year. So as soon as that's out, I'm going to go grab that. So look forward to more comic book reviews in the future. But the next comic I will be reviewing won't be a Deathstroke the Terminator. It'll actually be a Flash volume. So look forward to that. But on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to have to give Deathstroke the Terminator a overall score of an awesome 8.5 out of 10. Now I know what you're thinking. Well, so far, these guys haven't reviewed anything lower than an 8 out of 10. And the reason behind that is, I think that an 8 out of 10 is a good, solid, positive outlook on something. To me, 8 out of 10 means it's really, really good. We enjoy it a lot. It's not perfect, but it's really, really good. 10 being perfect, of course. And of course, as you guys know, on the CakeDrain channel, we tend to be on the positive side. We want to reinforce positivity and look for the good, the positive in things. And so, you know, something's going to have a little bit more negative aspects to it for it to score lower than an 8 out of 10 for us. But this is a good solid 8.5 out of 10. I would have given it a 9 out of 10 had it been a little bit more in depth with some of the plot elements. Like I said, City of Assassins, really, really awesome story arc, but it didn't have a solid villain. What really kept that one afloat was the interactions between Deathstroke and Batman, and a lot of the witty dialogue and the awesome panel composition. In terms of the plot was, at some time, once we got to the end of it, it kind of didn't quite make sense, the motivations for the villain, and also the villain itself was very kind of underwhelming. The other characters are interesting, and the twist is good, but the villain was very lacking. Now, in the first story arc, just to recap, the villain was great and solid, but some of the plot elements overall, it felt kind of derivative, you know, sort of that nuclear struggle type stuff that's just been done a million times, you know. Oh, these bad guys have got nuclear weapons or plutonium or something, you know, oh no. And so that was a little lackluster just because it's been done a bazillion times, but also taking into account that this was from 1991. So, like I said, overall, 8.5 out of 10. Great comic book read. Go and check it out if you like comics, if you like Deathstroke, or if, you know, I'm new to the comic book world in terms of reading a lot of them for myself. So I've really been getting into it lately, and it's awesome. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Peace out. And remember, Bruce!